We're going to be working on coloring the periodic table. So I'm using an electronic, I'm using Foxit PDF reader, which you can use their drawing tool. It's a free download. You can also print the periodic table out and color it with colored pencils, or you can use paint. You can use any number of online you can use any number of online color graphics programs. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at and color in a light blue. We're going to color the individual atomic numbers. So we're going to go up to 21 to that's not what I wanted. I wanted this to be, and I would set the opacity at around 15 or 20%. But for whatever reason, it didn't allow me to do that. Don't know if we do that. So there's that. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to have a general look to it. I didn't, when I was growing up and a little kid in kindergarten, I didn't exactly stay in the lines all the time. So I'm cool with that now. As long as you can read it, that's perfectly fine. So I'm up to 14, 15, 16, 17. And if you want, you can also pause this if I'm going too fast. So we're up to 19 and 20. And atomic numbers, so I want you to also color anything in light blue that has the letter C right there. So let's see if that does that. I just want to see something. No, but many of you will do it anyway. So basically the reason for coloring, you're like, this is for kindergartners. I learned this when I was in college taking anatomy and physiology. And in most of the my professor had us use a coloring book to learn the anatomy. And the reason was because your brain takes that information and takes it from your hand and imprints it on your brain. So it may seem like this is stupid, but actually there's a scientific reason for it. And there's a reason that I'm doing this. So all the C's look like they are filled in. So that's for using a light blue. Now, the elemental symbols, those would be the letters, like H for hydrogen. I'm going to change the color to a medium blue. More colors. A medium blue would probably be, let's go with that. Okay. So medium blue, we're going to basically fill in these. And again, keeping it set at 15 to 20%. Let's see what this does. Oh, okay. I can live with that, as long as you're able to read it, that's perfectly fine, because you're going to be using the periodic table. The periodic table actually teaches you a lot. It's one sheet of paper, and it's sort of like having most of Wikipedia on chemistry in your handy dandy it's like having all of Wikipedia on chemistry at your fingertips, because once we learn how to read it, it's pretty useful. And I set this one up so that the atomic weights are rounded. And there we are. And if anybody's come in, I apologize. There hasn't been any notification. So I'm up to silicon. And we are going to be doing a number of other colors in other ways too. So, and then you also want to color the words, the elemental symbol. And you know, I'm okay. If it was in the class, I'd be like, no, you have to actually fill in the letters. But unfortunately, doing this makes it kind of problematic. So I'm going to color the arrow on this one. So that's for the elemental symbol. The elemental symbol basically tells us the name of the letter. It's universal. So if you were speaking Spanish, the elemental symbol for carbon would be C. If you were speaking Italian, the elemental symbol for carbon would also be C. Anywhere in the world, if you were speaking Chinese, at a Chinese periodic table, the elemental symbol would be C. So, and then we're going to, the elemental names identify the actual name of each element, though it does change with your language. So if you're speaking a different language, then a name would be different. For example, carbon in English would be carbon, in Spanish would be carbono. And so I want you to find a dark blue color. And some more of that. So my dark blue. Ooh, I like that. That's pretty. All right. So so basically I want you to fill in the words, the elemental name. Except I don't like that, so we're gonna back it up. Control Z is what I pressed if you're using the electronics. And it allows you to undo the last thing you did. And I'm just writing, basically coloring elemental name with a darker color. And I'm also filling in the word carbon. Carbon. Whatever opacity you have for your colors, please make sure that you can actually read through it. That's why I recommend 15 to 20% on your what's called opacity, or the ability to see through. So, and let's see what else. All right. So the atomic mass would be your protons and your neutrons, and that would give you, it's the number at the bottom of each box. And we're going to color this with a super, super light blue color. Let's see, super light blue color. I suppose we can go, I don't know, probably that. We already did that one though, didn't we? Let's do that. Okay. All right. So then, atomic mass. Again, keeping your opacity at okay. That might just be too. Oh no, I can see it. You know, I'm going to change the color on that. I'm going to change it to a slightly different blue. Maybe I'm going to go with a super dark blue. Blue jeans blue. We'll go with that. Because if somebody's come into the room, I cannot see you right now. And I'm recording and filling in the individual colors on the coloring sheets. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And then I'm also going to just fill in the 12 on the bottom of the big carbon box, and then I'm going to fill in all the numbers 1 through 40, hydrogen through argon in this other color blue that looks kind of purpley, but close enough. So 4 for helium, and the atomic mass tells us the number of protons and the number of neutrons, and the number of protons and neutrons are in the actual um, um, uh, in the actual center of the individual element. And for these numbers, it looks like it would be better to actually fill in the numbers so that you can read them rather than doing the quick, I'm going to highlight it. It's not pretty. As long as you're able to read it, I'm totally okay with it. The reason we're coloring it is so you can be able to find stuff on an easier basis. The periods are the each of the 7 rows. They go left to right. So the periods would be. I'm going to get a different color. Get a brown, and so I'm going to get a a light brown color, so a tan color. So I suppose it can probably be, I don't know, probably one of these. Sure, we'll go with that. So that's my tan color, and that would be the periods. And so we're going to color the words period, the word periods. So periods go left to right. We have these 7 rows of the periodic table on the main body. The periods for the lanthanides and the actinides. Those are also periods, but they were pulled out because they are kind of like oddballs, and it kind of messes up the periodic table and makes things difficult for people who are learning the periodic table. So the groups or the families, those are the the groups or the families. Those are the ones that go up and down. We don't want a red color, so let's go with, we're going to go with just a red. It's perfectly fine. All right. So, and then we also want one further. I don't want red. I want the tan. Where's my tan? Do I want the tan? Maybe I don't. All right. Maybe it is red. Oh, it is red. Okay. So then, yep. And basically all I'm doing is basically color coding the atomic. No, I wasn't. I have to undo those. Sorry. One of those days where it didn't work out the way I wanted. Yeah, that's just what happened. All right. So basically these the red is for the groups, which are the families, which are go up and down, and all I'm doing is filling in that. This doesn't have to be pretty; it just has to be colored filled in, and as I said before, for those who are unable to understand why you have to color. Actually, there's been numerous studies that show that the information goes from your hand and it's imprinted into your brain. And I learned this technique when I was taking anatomy and physiology in college. And yeah, so this probably will take another about 15 minutes for us to fill this in. As I said, this does not. Some of you perfectly fine. It's like, as long as you're able to read it, I don't care. Some of you are like, I have to fill in every single thing and make it perfect. And I used to be that way too. Only problem is, come on. Okay, so now we can get back to filling our information. And all right, now basically there are 18 groups. Sometimes you might be the old-fashioned way. They used to have groups 1 and 2, and then they used to have groups 13 is 3, 14 is 4, 15 is 5. They used to only have 8 groups. And those 8 groups, they were a pain in the tuchus. Because they basically left out the transition metals, which were all the metals in the center. So that is all of the periods. Now what I want you to do is we're going to color the valence electrons, and you're going to color the valence electrons with a dark red color. So again, save. I don't need the thing crashing. So you're going to I'm going basically up to my line color after it's done saving. And changing it to a different, I want a super dark red. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to basically color the words valence electrons. And I'm fine with just highlighting the words. I would prefer that students fill it in, but for time's sake, I'm fine if you highlight it. So, and then I want you to fill in 1 and then 2. So there are 8 valence electrons for our purposes. What we're going to be doing a little later this week. So we get into bonding. So we have 5, and then we have 6, 7, and 8. So there are 8 valence electrons. And then ionic, so valence electrons are the electrons on the outside of an atom, and those electrons bond with other electrons. And then ionic charges are electrons that are given up or taken between a metal gives up the electrons to a non-metal. So the ionic charge, we're going to color those with a medium red color. So we're going to go back up to here. I want a medium red color. So medium red, let's go with, I don't know, that. Sure, why not? So ionic charge, we're going to basically fill that in. Okay, so and then I want you to fill in +1, +2. So basically, the +1, +2, +3, that indicates how many electrons are going to be given up. It has an extra electron it wants to give up. They always are metals. So metals would be lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon. Only problem, carbon is kind of dicey because sometimes it gives up, it acts as a metal and a non-metal. Hydrogen, even though it's a gas, also acts as a non-metal. I'm sorry, it looks like a non-metal, but sometimes it can act like a metal. And in the case of bonding, it gives up its electrons. So with ionic bonds. And hydrogen is weird because it can also form covalent bonds using valence electrons where the electrons are shared. So below that are going to be hydrogens. So we're going to take a very light green, very, very light green color. We're going to fill in the whole box of the hydrogen box, and we're going to fill that in green. does not have to be perfect. But leave the other colors so that you're able to see whatever is underneath. So that's done in green. So then the next one that I want you to do is I want you to, metals make up the majority of the periodic table. So I'm going to scroll down to this. We're going to color everything from lithium all the way over to, excuse me. Actually, we're going to skip that. We're going to go to the metalloids, and we're going to color these a violet color. Before we do the rest of the metals, the reason is that metalloids act as both metals and non-metals. We're going to find a violet color. I like that color. All right. So we are going to fill in boron. Boron is a metalloid. And we're going to just fill in the box. And I think I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger because I need. And then we're going to also fill in silicone, same way. Okay, maybe not that big. Maybe I'll undo that and redo it. Okay, so silicon, boron, and silicon and germanium would be elements that have that are metalloids, and then arsenic next to germanium, and then antimony, and selenium, and tellurium, polonium. Gonna fill those in, and astatine. And the thing with tennessine and oganesson, those only last for like a second or two, so they're not really useful. They're just kind of there. They're man-made, and they don't stick around for very long. So now everything between, we're going to go back to our metals, and you're going to color. Find a pale orange color. So going back to pale orange, and we're going to go with, sure, why not? It's not exactly pale, but close enough. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to basically fill in all of, shoot, that's not what I wanted. Sorry about that, guys. This is one of those things where, okay, we'll try that again. I think I'm going to go with a smaller width of my lines, so I can stay within the lines, maybe? Yeah, that's it. That's a good. And you can, it's entirely up to you. I'm fine if you want to just outline, but you're going to find that it's easier just to be able to read it. It's just easier to highlight it. And all right, we're almost done with all the metals. Okay. All right. So all of our metals are now colored this sort of weird orangey color. Oh, that's fine. We can redo that. Okay. Okay. So all of our metals are colored that way, and then the let's see, the transition metals. So we've colored all the metals, and now we're going to basically take a very thin pencil, and we're going to use the. I suppose I should save this because I really would hate to have to redo it. Um, I'm going to use the thin line, and then I'm going to. Come on! Oh, it's still saving. Haha. Here we are. Come on, color. Okay, so for whatever reason, this is starting to act wonky. This is what happens when you try to save something. Okay, I'm going to have to, I don't know what the heck's going on with this. Stop presenting. So what I want you to do is we're going to the alkali metals. I want you to circle the elemental symbol. And I've got it set in, I wanted it in black, but for whatever reason, it's deciding it wants to be difficult. So I want you to circle the elemental symbol on all of them. I wonder if I can make this thinner, because I don't know. Can I? Maybe I can't. Okay. All right. So I want you to circle all of the elemental symbols in the first group. Should be able to read it. I'm going to probably change the opacity down to about 50%. And circle cesium, and that, oh, there we are. That's more like it. Yeah, so go down to about 50%. So you're still able to read what's underneath for your lines. And then, so the first group are called alkali metals. And then for the second group, draw a square around your elemental symbols. And these would be the alkali earth metals. And both the alkali metals and the alkali earth metals are fairly reactive metals. The alkali metals, those are explosive, and the alkali earth metals, they're not as explosive, but they can be very reactive. And then we're going to take from groups 3 all the way over to oganesson. You're going to put a plus through each element box legend. So basically, you're going to go something like this. And again, it doesn't have to be pretty. So I'm going between the elemental symbols. And essentially, this is your these are your transition metals. And transition metals, some are reactive, some are not. One is even liquid. And let's see. Some are very, as I said, are reactive. And did we do livermorium? No, we didn't. Okay. So why is this doing this? Okay. So tin is also, and bismuth is also a metal. Now you can adjust the opacity. In hindsight, it may work better if it was even down to 20 or 25% on the opacity in these. So your alkali metals are going to be the circle. Your alkali earth metals are going to be the square. Your transition metals are going to be your pluses. Your metalloids are going to be that pink or that really light red. I can find it. Something like this, I think it was. So the metal, was it? I have to double check. Sorry about that. Oh, it's a violet color. So the metalloids are going to be, click OK. Metalloids are going to be, I think that, please stop. There we are. Okay. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I forgot to change the opacity back down to 20, 15, 20%. I can do this. There we are. Okay. All right. And then just highlighting metalloids. And yep, beautiful. So then the non-metals. So non-metals are going to be gases primarily. Though carbon, nitrogen, carbon and sulfur and phosphorus, bromine, iodine, those are solids and liquids. So we're almost done. We're in the home stretch. We also have, we're going to color the nonmetals. We're going to color those yellow. So now you have to find a yellow color. And sure, we can go with that. And basically the nonmetals. So you're going to color helium. Helium is a nonmetal. It's a gas. Makes your voice really high when you breathe it in. Okay. And so we're coloring that. And as I said earlier, if I'm going too fast on this video, you're welcome to pause it. And it does not have, as I said also, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be readable. So make sure that your opacity, if you're doing the electronic tool, is set at 20%. So the halogens, I want you to, we're just going to have to draw a dot. If you're hand drawing this, you can draw an asterisk. But for our purposes, the halogens are going to basically, oh, I need to have a different color. Yep. So we're going to go back to black. So I'm just going to have to make the dots, fortunately, in the upper right-hand corner of the last column, the last group, which we also refer to as the last family. Why is this doing this to me? Sorry about this. It's deciding it does not like me. Okay. Okay. So, and that is the, that's the noble gases. I'm sorry, that's the noble gases. And now I want you to draw a horizontal line between for the second to last group between chlorine, fluorine, bromine, iodine, and astatine. And that will give you your colored periodic table almost. We also have lanthanides and actinides. So down here, I apologize. I'm going to just go back to the pointer tool. But for whatever reason, it is not allowing me to choose colors right now. But down here, I just drew an arrow. Color the lanthanum row. Make that blue. And just outline the square. And then the actinum row, make that red. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop recording.